Thank you, Chair Campbell, for those very kind words. And my thanks also goes to the full board for your confidence in me and for the great privilege it is to serve the CSU as its acting chancellor until the interim chancellor is appointed and takes office. I'm humbled and I'm honored, as I have been through the 8 years I've been with the CSU, and fully committed to this remarkable university and the extraordinary students that we all serve. I'd also be remiss if I didn't also express my gratitude and appreciation for the trustees through this very difficult time and their commitment to take action and the appropriate and necessary reforms outlined by Chair Campbell just now. And I want to echo the chair in saying that a brighter future does indeed await us. And we will learn from this. We have to, and we will do better. We will seize this opportunity to become a national model for Title IX innovation, accountability, and response as we strengthen our training, our prevention, and survivor support services. And as we respectfully and intentionally hold space for all of those that are affected by sexual misconduct. And led by the board, we'll re-examine and appropriately reform our policies with regard to certain employment practices, as Chair Campbell just outlined, and become an even more equitable and accountable university. The CSU will step up to meet the challenges that face us today, as we have met the challenges presented by the pandemic and every challenge before that, by individually and collectively placing our focus squarely on our mission, and that is to help our talented and diverse students fulfill their potential and live the dreams that are within each of them. And I think it's also worth taking a moment and in no way minimizing the work and the seriousness that's before us, to still assess and remind ourselves where we stand relative to that mission. I think you'll agree, even as we confront this very difficult moment for CSU and confront it head on, that there is reason for great optimism everywhere you look throughout the CSU. So let's start with, we're back to in-person learning across the system after a delay on many campuses due to a surge in the Omicron variant this winter. The vast majority of our courses system-wide are now in-person, and the vibrancy has returned to campus life, as many of you have seen when you visited the campuses. Student success measures remain at record highs. Last year, we celebrated the largest graduating class in the history of the California State University, with approximately 133,000 students earning a CSU degree. Graduation rates are at all-time highs across the board from students from all backgrounds and every walk of life. And to ensure that our students have the equal opportunity to earn the life-changing and lifelong benefits of a CSU degree, we've implemented our Equity Action Plan, which we first presented to the board last November. So just before the holidays, the Chancellor's office directed $15 million in new resources to targeted campuses with the goal of achieving the most significant impacts in advancing that plan and closing equity gaps once and for all. Now, the early results are extremely encouraging. For example, Trustee Lopez and I, this past week, were at the Cal State San Bernardino campus, and that campus has re-enrolled approximately 500 students who had already dropped out or stopped out during the pandemic, which is an excellent yield for that campaign. Another example, San Diego State is confirming initial data that indicate that their retention rate for first-time freshmen is back to its pre-pandemic level. And Cal Poly Pomona was recently featured in the Chronicle of Higher Education for numerous efforts to eliminate barriers for students. Now, for example, in one decisive action at Cal Poly Pomona, the campus lifted registration holds for many students with past due balances. Once the balances were cleared, with that one act, 700 students re-enrolled for the spring and are back on track to graduate. So we'll be sure to share additional progress with you as our equity plans advance in the coming months. Now, this is a very important time of year when tens of thousands of high school seniors, community college students, and prospective graduate students are receiving their offers of admission to our 23 CSU campuses. And we still have many weeks until the start of the next academic year, and we're very encouraged that over 28,000 more applications were submitted for fall of this year compared to last fall. And as new students join us, we are applying lessons learned through the pandemic to leverage technology to support learning and to become an even more vital and effective university moving forward. So, for example, at the majority of our campuses, academic leadership, faculty, and staff who attended last summer's Flexible Course Experience Institute, which was offered by the Chancellor's office, are currently developing courses that allow students to participate both in person or remotely, either synchronously or asynchronously, to accommodate their specific learning styles and fast evolving preferences. Throughout the system, faculty are embedding equity, diversity, and inclusion as values and practices into every aspect of their teaching and course design. And at this board meeting, the board is going to take action on another proposal to advance access and equity. And that is, as you know, the permanent discontinuation of the use of the SAT and ACT scores in our admissions, and their transition to a more comprehensive view of applicants from all backgrounds and all zip codes. A view that will consider the multi-layered factors that truly demonstrate their skills, their determination, and their potential for success in college. And tomorrow, you'll learn how the CSU continues to garner national recognition for its sustainable operations and building design, climate education, and research opportunities that support student success, equity, and climate resiliency. Now, as you've recently heard, the CSU inspired record levels of philanthropic support last year with more than $553 million in gift receipts. Our endowment has soared past the $2 billion mark for the first time in our history and is now valued at $2.4 billion. Our budget advocacy efforts continue at full throttle. To date, delegations from the Chancellor's office and our campuses, and including stakeholders from the CSSA, the CSU EU, CFA, the Academic Senate, and the Alumni Council, all of us together, and we have met with 112 of the 120 state legislators in Sacramento, and there's a lot more meetings to come. Now, this includes sessions with the governor's office, as well as the chairs of the budget and education committees of both houses, and additional meetings with Speaker Rendon and Pro Tem Atkins. I want to emphasize that we continue to receive extremely positive feedback from those advocacy efforts, and we are gaining broad support for our budget requests. And there's also good news at the federal level. Earlier this month, Congress finally passed its fiscal year 2022 legislation. And Vice Chancellor Salinas is going to talk about this a bit more later in the meeting, but I'm happy to report that it contains a $400 increase to the maximum Pell Grant, funding increases for nearly all of the CSU's federal priority programs, community project funding ranging from $250,000 to $5 million at 13 different Cal State campuses, and very significantly, $380 million for a new state-of-the-art training vessel for Cal Maritime. Well done, President Cropper. I could point to 100 more examples of progress and success on every campus across the system and in every aspect of our university. They are everywhere, signs of an undeniable and accelerating positive momentum. And it's this momentum, together with our world-class faculty and staff's unwavering focus on our mission and our students' unshakable resolve, that will power us through this time of transition to a more and brighter future. So before I conclude my remarks, I have to address another matter that's concern to all of you, I'm sure, and that is, as an institution and given our global impact and our worldwide network of alumni, colleagues, and friends, and an institution that treasures the fundamental rights and values inherent to humankind, the Cal State University condemns in the clearest and strongest terms Russia's unjustified, unprovoked, and increasingly brutal invasion of Ukraine, and joins the worldwide community in demanding an immediate end to the heartbreaking loss of life and the senseless destruction that's happening. And as we stand with and in awe of the courageous, resolute, and resilient people of Ukraine, I want to provide you with a brief update regarding two important matters related to this tragic and fast-evolving situation. First, the CSU has no study abroad programs, or no study abroad students or faculty in Russia or Ukraine. I think that's very important to know. Now, of course, we do have students, faculty, and staff with close ties to these two countries, as well as bordering nations, and we will continue to offer our full array of support services and resources to those members of the Cal State family. And secondly, we've reviewed the CSU investment portfolio, and we have no direct ownership of any Russian-based investment assets. Now, as you might recall from previous presentations, the CSU is prohibited from having direct ownership interest in securities or stocks, but rather we hold commingled mutual funds. And thanks to CSU investment decisions made prior to Russia's invasion, we have a very minimal exposure to Russian-based investments in funds of approximately 0.009% of our overall investments. In addition, the CSU Foundation has identified just 0.06% total exposure to Russian companies, and the investment managers are currently working to curtail that and any future exposure. So, as we continue to monitor this volatile situation, we'll take all the appropriate and necessary action to protect the safety and the health and the well-being of the extended Cal State community. And of course, we'll keep you apprised of any developments that impact the university or its people. Chair Kimball, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Chancellor Relier. We will